Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And in today's video, I'm going to be ranking the top 25 college all-time starting fives. So the rules are pretty simple. I only have two of them. The first one is that I'm going to be grading these players based on their NBA careers, not their college careers. So for example, if someone had like a very good college career, maybe they were like a top draft pick, but then they went to the NBA and became a bust, chances are they won't be in their college's all-time starting five. Whereas maybe they weren't as good in college, they were like a second round pick, but then they thrived in the NBA, then chances are they will be on their all-time starting five. And then my second rule is that for the most part, most of these players have to be in their correct positions. So yeah, let's get into this list. So coming in at number 25, I have Arkansas. This is Alvin Robertson, Sidney Moncrief, Joe Johnson, Bobby Portis, and Daniel Gafford. Um, and yeah, I know Joe Johnson's probably more of a shooting guard, but I figured he could play small forward because he definitely is one of the best players to ever play at Arkansas. So yeah, solid team. And then at number 24 is Notre Dame. I think they're one step up from the Arkansas team with John Paxson, Austin Carr, Adrian Dantley, LaFonso Ellis, and Bill Lambier. Adrian Dantley, if you don't know who he is, he was a big time bucket getter back in the 80s for the Utah Jazz. And he'll probably get most of the points on this team, but then you obviously have Bill Lambier from the Bad Boy Pistons, who will play a crucial part in this team as well. All right, so coming in at number 23 is St. John's, which is Mark Jackson, Chris Mullin, Ron Artest, Jason Williams, and Bill Wennington. And all of these guys have at least made one All-Star appearance except for Bill Wennington, who played alongside Michael Jordan with that Chicago Bulls team in the 90s. The best player is probably Chris Mullin, but then you have the defensive Ron Artest, and then Mark Jackson and Jason Williams, also very solid all-star level players. All right, so coming in at number 22 is Arizona with Mike Bibby, Gilbert Arenas, Sean Elliott, Andre Iguodala, and Lauri Markkanen. And before you get mad at the team, I decided to go for this. I'll just explain two things. For one, I decided to go with Sean Elliott as the small forward on this team instead of Richard Jefferson. I think he's a little bit more of the better player. And for two, yes, I know I'm putting Markkanen at the small forward, or sorry, not the small forward. I'm putting him at the center position. I know he's normally more of like a small forward or a power forward, because he's a great shooter, but he is 7 feet tall. I know it's not his game to play in the post as much, but I think it could work. I think that he's the kind of guy that could sort of play any role. And then yeah, you got four other all-star level players. I know Mike Bibby never made an all-star appearance, but he was close. So yeah, this is a pretty solid team all around, even if Markkanen is sort of out of position. All right, so coming in at number 21 is Louisville. This is Terry Rozier, Donovan Mitchell, Rodney McCray, Montrezl Harrell, and Wes Unseld. And you pair the fantastic duo of Donovan Mitchell and Wes Unseld with three very solid role players. So coming in at number 20 is Washington with Isaiah Thomas, Celtics Isaiah Thomas, not Pistons Isaiah Thomas, DeJounte Murray, Brandon Roy, Detlef Schrempf, and Isaiah Stewart. All these guys made at least one All-Star appearance except for Isaiah Stewart. So yeah, I mean, you can kind of see how these teams keep getting better and better. Another extremely solid team at the start of the top 20. All right, so coming in at number 19 is Marquette. This is Doc Rivers, Dwayne Wade, Jimmy Butler, Maurice Lucas, and Jim Jones. And this team would be a lot higher up if Jim Jones, who I'm not quite sure who he is, he's just the best center who ever played at Marquette. So he kind of drags this team down a little bit, but you know, you have Dwayne Wade, you have Jimmy Butler, and then you have Maurice Lucas and Doc Rivers, who both made All-Star appearances. So, yeah, another solid team. It just would have been a bit higher on the list if they had a better center. All right, so coming in at number 18 is Alabama. This is Mo Williams, Latrell Sprewell, Gerald Wallace, Robert Horry, and Antonio McDyess. And this is just a very well-balanced team. Um, all these guys made at least one All-Star appearance, except for Robert Horry, who obviously was, a very clutch player, an amazing role player for multiple different teams. He won 7 championships. Um, and then, yeah, you probably Latrell Sprewell is probably their number one playmaker, but then you got the other three guys that all made at least one All-Star appearance. So yeah, very solid team, very well balanced team. All right, so coming in at number 17 is California or UC Berkeley. Um, which is Kevin Johnson, Jason Kidd, Jalen Brown, Sharif Abdur-Rahim, and Daryl Imhoff. This is another very well-balanced team. If you don't know who Daryl Imhoff was, he was a center back in the 60s who made at least one All-Star appearance. He was honestly a pretty solid player. Um, and yeah, this is a very solid team. I think this might be the first team where all of these guys have made at least one All-Star appearance. Um, and then yeah, Jason Kidd, probably the best player, the main ball handler. But then you got Jason Brown, uh, not Jason Brown, excuse me, Jalen Brown, and then in my opinion, a very underrated player in Sharif Abdur-Rahim. So yeah, another extremely solid team. All right, so at number 16, we have USC, which is Paul Westphal, Bill Sharman, DeMar DeRozan, Evan Mobley, and Nikola Vucevic. Um, Again, this is another great team. You kinda got that backcourt with some of the older guys, and then you have DeRozan, probably the team's main scorer, and then pair that with the modern front court of Evan Mobley and Nikola Vucevic. So yeah, this team just missed out on the top 15. So coming in at number 15 is Georgia Tech, a team that you probably wouldn't have thought had amazing basketball players, but definitely a solid team with Mark Price, Stephon Marbury, Amon Shumper, Chris Bosh, and John Sally. Now that I think about it, I probably should have put Marbury at the 1 and Mark Price at the 2, but it doesn't really matter. And yeah, you got three amazing all-star level players in Price, Marbury, and Bosch, and then you have two solid role players in Chumpert and Sally. So, yeah, solid team that just cracks the top 15. All right, so at number 14, we have Texas, which is TJ Ford, DJ Augustine, Kevin Durant, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Miles Turner. And LaMarcus Aldridge was a great player, but this team is really this high because it has an all-time great in Kevin Durant, who sort of carries this team. And then yeah, you have one all-star level player surrounded by three role players, which would definitely make for a very solid team. So number 13, we have Florida, which is Jason Williams, Bradley Beal, Mike Miller, Al Horford, and Joakim Noah. Um, you got kind of a great all-around team with five very solid players. I would say Bradley Beal is probably the primary on-ball guy. And then obviously you have the flashiness of white chocolate, and then you have a great front court in Al Horford and Joakim Noah, who kind of Noah's more known for his defense and Horford's more known for his offense. So the contrasting styles work great together. They also won a couple of championships in Florida together. So they sort of have that championship DNA for this team. So yeah, I think this team deserves that number 13 spot. All right, so number 12 is Wake Forest, which is Chris Paul, Jeff Teague, Alfred Gamino, John Collins, and Tim Duncan. And Jeff Teague, was a solid all-star level player, but this team is mainly carried by that duo of Chris Paul and Tim Duncan, which would just be one of the craziest duos of all time, in my opinion, honestly. I mean, Tim Duncan won 4 championships. Sorry, he won 4 championships with Tony Parker. Tony Parker wasn't on that first one, and Chris Paul kind of plays similar to Tony Parker, with kind of that pick and roll ability. but he's just a way better player than Tony Parker. So yeah, I think this team with that duo would be phenomenal. All right, so coming in at number 11, barely missing the top 10, is Michigan with Jalen Rose, Jamal Crawford, Glenn Rice, Rudy Tomjanovich, and Chris Webber, and another just great, solid, all-around team. I would say the number one player sort of playing on the ball. I mean, Jalen Rose will be kind of the ball handler, but the main scorer is going to be Glenn Rice, who might be, in my opinion, one of the most underrated players of all time. He was just a beast in the late 90s. And then you have another incredibly underrated player in Chris Webber. So yeah, again, I think this is just very this is a group of five just very solid players that I think would have great chemistry and work well together. All right, so right before we get into the top 10, I just wanted to say I did work really hard on making this video. So if you do like this video, please like and subscribe. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say before we get into the top 10. All right, so coming in at number 10, I have Georgetown. This is Sleepy Floyd, Allen Iverson, Jeff Green, Alonzo Mourning, and Patrick Ewing. And yes, I know Alonzo Mourning is more of a center than a power forward, but he is 6'10". He's not that tall, so I figured it would work. I know Dikembe Mutombo went to Georgetown, so you might have wanted me to put him in here. I just feel like it is sort of cheating to put, Alonzo Mourning at small forward. The spacing would just be awful. So I decided to put Jeff Green, who was obviously a solid role player for over a decade. And then obviously you have AI, who might be the greatest ball handler of all time. And then, Sleepy Floyd, a solid all-star level point guard. So, yeah, this team definitely deserves to make the top 10. All right, so at number 9 is Yukon, which is just another incredibly well-balanced team with Kemba Walker, Ray Allen, Caron Butler, Clifford Robinson, and Andre Drummond. Ray Allen being the best player on this team, but all of the other guys made at least one All-Star appearance. Again, nothing incredibly flashy. You don't have, I mean, Ray Allen in a certain aspect is like an all-time great, but you don't have like a phenomenal all-time great like a Michael Jordan or LeBron James. But again, this team is just very well-rounded. All right, so number 8 is Houston with Otis Birdsong, Clyde Drexler, Quentin Grimes, Elvin Hayes, and Akeem Olajuwon. And this team actually has 3 all-time greats: Clyde Drexler, Elvin Hayes, and Akeem Olajuwon. Um, but I decided to put it at 8, not higher, because Quentin Grimes is on this team. He sort of slows things down, but still, with those 3 all-time greats, it still deserves to get its place at number 8. All right, so at number 7 is LSU with Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, Pete Maravich, Ben Simmons, Bob Pettit, and Shaq. And this team is just a phenomenal team. You got probably the most dominant player of all time, paired with one of the flashiest players of all time, Pete Maravich, and then MVP Bob Pettit, and then if you take those 4 amazing years of Ben Simmons, he's a very high all-star level player, and then Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, very solid point guard. So, yeah, this team definitely deserves to come in at number 7. Okay, so at number 6 is Michigan State with Magic Johnson, Steve Smith, Jaren Jackson Jr., Draymond Green, and Zach Randolph. Obviously, you have arguably the greatest point guard of all time. And then Steve Smith, who was a solid all-star level shooting guard back in the 90s and early 2000s. Something a little bit weird about this team is that it has 3 power forwards. But I decided to put Jaren Jackson Jr. at small forward just because, young Draymond had a decent shot, but I feel like in general he's the best shooter. And then Draymond Green, I thought might be the most like traditional power forward out of these 3, and then Zach Randolph is the biggest guy of these 3, so I think he would have the easiest time playing center. So yeah, obviously this team is phenomenal. All right, so Just cracking the top 5 is Kentucky with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Devin Booker, Jamal Mashburn, Anthony Davis, and DeMarcus Cousins. Another just extremely well-balanced team. You have the most recent MVP, Shai, paired with 3 pretty recent players, and then Jamal Mashburn, who was a beast in the late 90s and early 2000s. So yeah, another great team. All right, so coming in at number 4, we have another very well-rounded team, which is Duke, which is Kyrie Irving, Grant Hill, Jason Tatum, Luol Deng, and Elton Brand. And yes, I left Christian Laettner off this list because he might be the greatest Duke player of all time, but in my opinion, he is not the best player to go to Duke. I think if it's by NBA careers, Luol Deng did have the better NBA career than Christian Laettner, and that is why I decided to put him in instead of Christian Laettner just because of the rules I set at the beginning. But yeah, another very well-rounded team. All right, so number 3 is Kansas with JoJo White, Paul Pierce, Andrew Wiggins, Joel Embiid, and Wilt Chamberlain. And you can kind of see the difference between teams like this and teams, around 20 or 25. This team is just absolutely phenomenal. All these guys made at least one All-Star appearance. You have an all-time great in Wilt Chamberlain, an MVP in Joel Embiid, and then 2 great Celtics players to make up that backcourt. So yeah, phenomenal team. All right, so this could be a hot take. But I put North Carolina at number 2. Some people would say that they should be at number 1. This team is Kenny Smith, Michael Jordan, Vince Carter, James Worthy, and Bob McAdoo. Obviously, you have arguably the greatest player of all time, along with 4 extremely good players. So yeah, I put them at number 2, but I'll show you why. I'll tell you why I put them at number 2 instead of number 1. Because at number 1 I have UCLA, which is Russell Westbrook, Reggie Miller, Marquez Johnson, Bill Walton, and Kareem. And I just think that this team is a little bit better. I mean, Russell Westbrook is better than Kenny Smith. Michael Jordan is better than Reggie Miller. Um, I mean, yeah, Vince Carter's probably better than Marquez Johnson, but then you have Bill Walton, who was an MVP, and then Kareem, who was an all-time great. Um, I mean, even if you just look at this team, you have, an all-time great. You have 2 MVP winners. In Bill Walton and Russell Westbrook, you have one of the greatest shooters of all time and a franchise GOAT, and you have another amazingly underrated player in Marquez Johnson, who was like a 4 or 5-time All-Star. So yeah, I think this team deserves to be number 1, but let me know in the comments if you disagree. Um, and yeah, that pretty much sums up this video. If you like this video and want to see more videos like this, please make sure to like and subscribe. And yeah, thanks for watching.